संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaaya te namaha. So today we read a very interesting portion from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna as recorded by Mahendranath Gupta or M. You see, he is very particular that he has noted down who is asking the question. And if you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the original Ramakrishna Kathamrit, you will find that he gives in advance, he gives a description of the person who is asking this question. Because very often we do not know who Keshav Chandra Sen is, what was his philosophy, which organization did he start. So there are many things for a casual or a first-time reader of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So M decided to give elaborate footnotes, or even in the main text he has explained. So since he has already explained who Keshav Chandra Sen was, and many of the people know he was the founder of Brahmo Samaj, so we have to understand it in that context. The people who were present, people of diverse faiths, they often came. And when they came in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna in that small room in Dakshineshwar, you will find all the quarrels and differences they had outside were forgotten, at least temporarily. And the ideas and ideals they held so dear, because for an organization to survive, you have to be a bit fanatic, though it is not necessary. But most of the founders of different organizations think that unless you aggressively push the different ideals or ideas that the founder has determined for that particular organization, it is not going to succeed. So you say a person is belonging to this organization, he is expected to share the ideas that the founder has propounded and hold on to it. Otherwise you cease to be a follower. So this predicament is seen here in the Gospel, and Sri Ramakrishna takes it very lightly. He even gives the choice to Keshav Chandra Sen, and while speaking he is just testing him by saying that if you subscribe to certain ideas which are not accepted as part of the Brahmo Samaj, you will find that your own disciples will reject you. They will say he has formulated certain rules like not worshipping God in an image, not believing in a God with form, at least not in the form of an image, which is the heart of the bhakti movement. And if you see, most of the religious movements of the world, especially the Semitic religions, and also all the entire bhakti movement, whether it is North India, South India, you will find everybody believed in a personal God with form. But at the same time, there is this uniqueness. What we read today, Sri Ramakrishna is not against God, the idea of God without form, like the Brahmos believed. They said God cannot have a form. They took this idea from some other religion, especially Islam and the Upanishadic religion. And they said God doesn't need to have a form, though he is Saguna. Saguna means he has qualities. He is merciful. Like if you see the religion of Islam, they say Allah cannot be drawn or he doesn't have a form. He is formless, but he is not without qualities. He has more than 1,000 qualities. There are 1,000 names in the Quran which describe Allah. One is he is merciful, one he is all-knowing. Though he is not a person, he has these qualities. So the pure pure Advaitins, or the people who believed in formless Brahman, they say if a person does not have a form, if a idea of God doesn't have a form, then how can he have qualities? You can have compassion only if you are a human being, a superior human being, or you can understand the problems of the human beings. You are the God whom you conceive can have feelings, can have compassion for you. Otherwise, how can a formless God have different gunas or qualities? So there are so many theories, but Sri Ramakrishna did not want to enter into all this philosophy. He speaks of a synthetic philosophy where if you are sincere, whichever religion, whichever sect of Hinduism you follow, whether you believe in Krishna, whether you believe in Rama, you might be aware, if you see all the songs that are sung, depending on who was present, he could easily change the type of song that he sang. If he saw some devotees of Krishna had come there, he would ask somebody who knew singing or himself. There are more than 170 songs that he has sung in the gospel at least. And the gospel covers only from the period between 1882 to 1886, August, when he passed away. So M has recorded all the conversations which he was personally present. Not all the conversations. Every day Sri Ramakrishna used to meet so many devotees. There was singing, there was dancing, kirtan. So many, a wide variety of religious people belonging to different sects. Brahmos came, Vaishnavas came, Shaktas came, Advaitins came. Everybody felt that Sri Ramakrishna represented their school of thought. It is very rare for a person to be acceptable to everyone. Keshav comes and you see all these different devotees when they come. Sri Ramakrishna makes them sing about Madhava, Govinda. You saw he's saying Bhakta, Bhagwan and Bhagavata. They are the same. He reluctantly accepts because according to Brahmo Samaj there is no question of Bhakta or Bhagwan. Bhagwan is there but not. Bhagavata means you are specifically referring to a particular deity, Vishnu or Narayana or Krishna. So obviously yes, he cannot subscribe to that, especially in front of his followers. Then Sri Ramakrishna, just to test him, says, now you say, what does he say? Guru Vaishnava. He says, no, not so far, because Vaishnavas were sitting there. If he makes a statement and if he repeats this prayer which Sri Ramakrishna wants him to repeat, then the Vaishnavas will say, see, even Keshav Chandra Sen has accepted our Krishna, because they are also very equally fanatic. Just as there are people who say Christ is the only Son of God and we have to believe only Christianity can save human beings. So also Vaishnavas believe Krishna is the only God worth worshipping. All other gods and goddesses of Hinduism, they may be acceptable, but they will not allow you to, they will not enable you to go to get salvation or go to Vaikuntha. So they have their own ideas, rigid ideas. So we can't blame any sect, because faith in one's own ideals was what Sri Ramakrishna said. You believe that Krishna alone is your Ishta and you are worshipping him. But for that reason, don't be critical of other people who say God is formless. You don't be critical of other religions who say he is formless but he has so many gunas. Or the Shaivites who say Shiva is the ultimate reality. Or the devotees of the Divine Mother who say without Shakti nothing can happen. So you see the conversation, whatever portions we read today, portions from the Gospel, you will find he's trying to synthesize all the people who were present there. Today we didn't read this, but this will be a very good background. In one significant conversation, he says, do you know how God is like? He was giving an example. You believe in a formless God. So formless God without form. You don't believe in avatara, you don't believe in image, you don't believe in Krishna, all the different manifestations. Okay, you are fine. It is just like an ocean which is full of water, and that if you compare to a formless God, then in some places, he says, the water freezes because of the cold. The same water, the content is the same, but this formless assumes a form because of bhakti or the devotion of the bhakta. So that is like the cooling effect. The cooling effect has a capacity or has the possibility of converting that liquid water into icebergs because of the cooling effect of bhakti. How nicely he reconciles. He says, in some places the water becomes ice, but it's part of the same ocean. They are not two different realities. If you look at God from the point of view of bhakti, as the Vaishnavas, the Shaktas, the followers of different religions who believe in a personal God, then that is their devotion converts the same formless God, same Satchidananda, into a God with form. So that is one idea. Now the question is, if they are so liberal, then they will say, okay, I accept God without form, like the Advaitins do. They say God is Satchidananda, is Brahman, he is beyond mind. So Sri Ramakrishna in the beginning says, mind gives form and name. What is Maya? What is mind? He says it is like an elephant. And even the symbology of Durga Puja is explained. We do Durga Puja as a ritual, as a social gathering, but we hardly question. And if the child asks, an innocent child asks, why is the elephant there? Or some other people who belong to other religions, we are not able to explain why mother is sitting on an elephant, a lion, and what is the significance of the elephant there, and why is he... So Sri Ramakrishna, you see, he never went to any university, he never went to any school, but he had heard from different singers, different people who had realized, who were real devotees of Durga, not the puja that we do. We do puja, we don't even bother to find out what is behind the imagery. Why there is lion, why there is the jackal, why there are so many other Ganesha, Shiva. There are many aspects of our mythology. It's not just a social event. So if we have to understand, then Sri Ramakrishna says, he himself asks the question. Then he says, mind is like a mad elephant. That is why in Durga Puja, see, when we do puja, if we see the elephant and try to recollect what Sri Ramakrishna has said in the gospel, then our puja is of some use. We go there, we spend so much time. Every year Durga Puja comes. We hardly think of the imagery. That is possible because Sri Ramakrishna was not satisfied with just rituals. He would not do a ritual because it is to be done. He would question everything. And that this reasoning or this logical approach, scientific approach to religion was what attracted Vivekananda. He said, here there is a person, a guru, who never stopped him from asking questions. Now if a child asks us, what is the significance, why is there an elephant, my class friends are asking, you have so many types of gods, there is a monkey god, Hanuman, there are so many things and we are not able to explain to them. Is it just some kind of artwork that has come in as part of our culture? No, Sri Ramakrishna explains the significance. Mind is like a mad elephant. So that elephant has to be tamed. So how does mother do it? Among all the animals, if you see, lion is given the prime position. Not only in our culture, in every culture, lion is the king of the forest. Why do we say king? Because he has tremendous self-control. You see, this is, many people do not know. When we went to the Gir forest in Gujarat, there is Junagadh, there is a Gir forest. So the forest officer was explaining some of the characteristics of a lion. Then you really understand, though there are powerful animals, more powerful animals than a lion, but why lion is considered to be the king of animals? Because he is an animal which has tremendous control. He doesn't, like a tiger, he's not aggressive. He doesn't kill for fun. He kills only when he is hungry, when he has hunger and he has to satisfy his hunger. And he always, the male lion, I mean, most of the time he walks alone. Buddha, of course, preferred a rhinoceros. When he saw, Buddha says, the monk has to be like a rhinoceros. The rhinoceros is one-pointed. They never go in groups. They want to be alone. They want to be in solitude. So some qualities of the animal which have been taken by our people who created mythology. It was not just imagination that you have mother sitting on a lion and she is trying to kill the elephant. So it's the elephant is the restless mind which has to be controlled by a animal which is full of control, self-control, a dignified, steady person who is not whimsical like a monkey or any other animal. We don't like to be compared to monkeys. We would rather, if somebody says you are a lion, you are like a lion, you feel proud. Though you don't know why, but if definitely you will get angry if somebody says you are like a monkey, isn't it? That is how our animals also, there are certain characteristics which are represented in our bhakti tradition, that their vahanas are chosen very carefully. There is a nice book by Swami Harshanandji where the divine forms and the vahanas are explained based on the scriptural writings that are available. So there is a deep meaning. All these symbols and symbologies that we find in Hinduism have a deep meaning. So you will find in this Sri Ramakrishna is giving an explanation. He has heard this from many scholars, many pandits who used to pass by, and he had a tremendous, wonderful memory. So you see, every line of this gospel, something or the other, he has an answer for everything. So when our children ask, I think it is better if we read the gospel. Sri Ramakrishna has given many answers to all the so-called superstitions, because Brahmos were after all the Hindu sects, that you are worshipping a tamasic goddess Kali. So that also he has answered. He said, why is Kali black or why is Krishna blue? He says, because when you have a form, when God is far away from you, you give him forms. But when you go nearer, you suddenly see the form disappears and only the formless remains. And see the example he gives. He says, water from a distance appears to be blue. But if you go very near and hold that water, it's just colorless. So the same form becomes, same form which appeared to be blue in color becomes colorless. So that is another way he is explaining. Then, in this earlier example which I am referring to, Sri Ramakrishna says, God with form is like the iceberg. The bhakti, the cooling effect of bhakti or devotion in the heart of a devotee tries to give it a form. It is because of his bhakti God takes up a form. The formless God, formless Sachidananda takes up a form. Then there is a question. It's not there in this conversation which we read today, but somewhere else somebody asked, what is your opinion? Because Brahmos, they did not even accept God with form and leave alone eternal form. For example, Vaishnavas, they would believe that their ideal is the eternal Krishna living in eternal Vaikuntha. So is that true? Is that not superstition? Because as Sri Ramakrishna said, the water is formless. When it freezes due to bhakti, it becomes ice. But then Sri Ramakrishna answers. He said, no, even that is true. Then he gives another example. You see how much knowledge Sri Ramakrishna had. He never read geography, he never read anything. He says, I have heard, he has heard from someone, but he has remembered that. And we don't remember. He says, I have heard that there are some places, obviously he has not gone to the Arctic where there is only iceberg throughout the year. Near the poles, you will find only ice. So he says, I have heard that there are places where the water never melts. That means the iceberg never melts. He says when the sun of knowledge comes, in the portions where due to bhakti the water has become frozen, the sun of knowledge when it comes, the form of that iceberg melts and it becomes water. So it is the same reality. What is Brahman, what we read, what Sri Ramakrishna was saying, that the same formless Brahman takes up a form because of the desire or the bhakti of the devotee to see him in that particular form. He likes that particular form. That is the concept of Ishta. So you take up water, the water freezes and takes up a particular form which you like, and you call it an Ishta. So it can be Rama, it can be Krishna, but behind them is the formless God. So the question may arise, now suppose the sun of knowledge comes and the form melts into water. We understood that example. But the question, the person who was asking the question, he had a doubt that what about the eternal form? Is that not superstition? Someday the form has to melt. He said, no, there are places in the world where the water eternally assumes and retains its form. So you see how nicely through one example he has reconciled the formless aspect of God. It's fine. You believe in formless, you hold on to that. You believe in bhakti, you hold on to the form which is dear to you. You believe in a type of bhakti where the form never vanishes. In fact, some devotees of God don't want to see him as formless, like Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, for example, when Totapuri came, the Advait sadhana that he did, he used to worship Mother Kali and that form he liked so much. He was as dear as his own mother, more dear than his own mother. So he was reluctant to give up that form. Like some of the Vaishnavas, they do not want to give up the form of Krishna or Rama, whatever religion, whatever Ishta they believe in. They just want to see him in that form eternally. That is also true. But Sri Ramakrishna had to practice Advaita to show that all religions, the same truth is expressed by different sects, different people, in different ways. So when Totapuri says no, because he did not believe in form, he thought it is part of Maya. So he obeyed him, he obeyed his guru, and he said whenever the form comes, he took a glass. If you have read the Leela Prasang, you will find. He says, whenever that form comes in your mind's eye, you take the sword of knowledge. You see, these are all symbolic. But it was so effective because Sri Ramakrishna had, whatever he had faith in, he believed 100%. Unlike us, we believe in things, we take it for granted, we hear, and we are not serious about what we do. But Gadadhar, right from childhood, if he heard something, he will find out if it is true or not, and he will follow it to its logical conclusion. Sardanji explains how Sri Ramakrishna took up an idea and how we take up different ideas and we are not serious about it. He says whenever Sri Ramakrishna took up an idea, he followed it so much that it became a part of his nervous system. So he gave a very nice word. In Bengali it is different, but in English he has translated it. It has been translated as, for Sri Ramakrishna, every idea was nervously associated with his personality. So if he believed in something, he not only believed it in word, but he believed it in thought, word and deed. So all his actions reflected the ideas that he held dear, because he meditated so deeply on these ideas right from childhood, because he would give 100% to whatever ideas, good ideas. First of all, he will distinguish. He will see if it tallies with the scriptures. Who is the person who is giving these ideas? Is that an authentic tradition? Ram Prasad and all those saints who have had the vision of God. He would not follow any Tom, Dick and Harry. Otherwise, he would have followed his brother. His brother said, if you don't have education, how can you earn a living? At least you become a priest and earn some money. Otherwise, how will you marry and support your family? So Sri Ramakrishna said, show me any scriptural evidence where this is a preferred way of life. Since his brother could not say, he said, what about the others? What about Buddha? What about all the stories I have heard? All of them did not earn a living. Were they not great people? So you see, his logical brain, right from childhood, he would accept, he would ask questions. And he would ask questions of everyone. When they did not give a satisfactory answer, he would go to his own divine mother. When somebody asked him to practice Advait Sadhana, he said, I'll go and ask my mother. Totapuri was not aware which mother he was referring to. He thought he's going to ask his biological mother. But he goes to the temple and asks. Because for him, that mother and the idea of mother, Bhavatarini, was nervously associated with his whole system. So whatever he did, whatever he thought, whatever actions he committed, or he did, were inspired by the Divine Mother. So he did not take Divine Mother, he took Divine Mother seriously till he had his first vision of the Divine Mother. He just wanted, if he says, if you are true, you have to speak to me. You have to tell me what I should do, what I should not do. I don't want to rely on human intelligence because I know how foolish they are, including his own brother. So he wanted somebody who can give him the real knowledge. So he goes to the Divine Mother, and only when she says, no, I have arranged for Totapuri to come, but because you should have experience of the Advaita Sadhana or the formless God. I am with form, but I am also without form. So he got all his knowledge he learnt from the University of the Divine Mother, or you may say University of Nature. Prakriti is nothing but the Divine Mother. So Swami Vivekananda used to say, you see, we all went to university and got second-hand knowledge, whereas Sri Ramakrishna believed in original knowledge. He went to the source of knowledge, Prakriti, from where we get our knowledge. Only we don't have the capacity to understand and get our knowledge from direct experience. But because of his sincerity, because of his attitude towards reality or God, he would get all his answers. And that is why they were so precise. So he gives wonderful examples, which even a university professor would not give. Nobody could reconcile. Even Master Mashe, when he comes for the first time, Thakur asks him, which form of God you believe? I mean, what is your idea of God? He said, being a Brahmo, he said, very clearly said, I don't believe in the images. I believe in the formless God. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, okay, that is fine. You hold on to your concept of God, but don't think those who believe in form are ignorant. So this was confusing. A professor who did his masters in logic, he was confused. What kind of logic is this? How can God be with form? Either he is with form, because till then he had only an idea that whichever sect you belong to, you have to be faithful to that sect. He could not believe that, he could not even accept the fact that all the different viewpoints can be equally true, depending on the path that they followed. Joto mat toto pat means as many paths, as many faiths, so many paths. So this was a revelation to M, who was educated in the modern sense of the word in a university. So he believed that you have to somehow use your logic to convince what is true, and that is what Brahmos were aggressively doing. They were saying worship of Kali has brought about all the problems that you see in this country. People are hungry because you have worshipped a tamasic deity. Fantastic ideas they had, but they believed that it was true. Otherwise, why would they have so many followers? And Sri Ramakrishna did not criticize them for that. In fact, this dialogue, he even made Keshav Chandra Sen accept the fact that Bhakta, Bhagavata and Bhagwan, because that is a realization he had. In front of the Radhakanta temple, he was sitting one day and a Bhagavata was expounding the Bhagavata. Bhagavata Pandit was expounding the Bhagavata, and suddenly Sri Ramakrishna went into a trance. He had a vision, direct experience, where he saw a ray of light coming from the Krishna temple, Radhakanta temple, passing through that Pandit, passing through the devotees and then the Bhagavata. So then he had a realization that the Bhakta Bhagavata and Bhagwan, they are one. They appear as different for the sake of devotees. So God, who is formless, is Advaita or he is one, assumes form for the sake of devotees. Whenever this I, and then he comes to the discussion on Aham and Mama. If you see, the next part what we read was, all the problems of the world are because of this Aham and Mama. So then the question is, now Keshav Chandra, he says, if you believe in this, then you cannot keep an organization together. Then Keshav Chandra says, no, let me be happy with my organization. I don't want to destroy. He said, if you give that up, then nothing remains to be preached. You are preaching because your knowledge is incomplete. And it is not so easy to preach. Only God, who comes as avatara or as a manifestation of that Satchidananda, can alone preach because he has the authority. So in a way he is hinting that if the knowledge doesn't come and it doesn't have the authority behind it, a authentic tradition behind it, then it will not stand. So that's why he is warning Keshav Chandra Sen that you can't keep the order intact, the order that you have created, if it is not based on eternal values, because you hold one idea to be true and you criticize everybody else. That is not how the world is designed. God has created that so that there is variety. There is variety. Somebody will worship him as Kali, somebody will worship him as Krishna, somebody will worship him in the formless way. Why don't you accept all as true, as different paths? That's the only way you can sustain your organization. But his organization, what he had created, though he knew somewhere intuitively that Ramakrishna is true, what he's saying is true. So he even agreed to repeat Bhakta, Bhagavata and Bhagavan. But then when it came to Krishna, Vaishnava and what? Vaishnava? Guru Krishna and Vaishnava, he said, no, I can't go that far. Because then people will criticize me. He said he's going against his own ideologue that he has created for creating the Brahmo Samaj. So people, sometimes when they come in contact with the liberal, universal people, universal ideas, they know what they are doing is wrong. But what makes them hold to their limited ideas, that is Aham and Mama. That is what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. He says, Aham, my child, my family, my money, these are causes of bondage. But Aham is not always bad. He said this Mama can be bad if it is used in a restricted sense. But there is a Paka Ami. Means he uses the Bengali word Kacha Ami and Paka Ami. So Ami is not the problem. It is what type of ego you have. If you have an ego where you say, I am the servant of Krishna or I am a devotee of Krishna, that ego is good. Because he does not feel that he and Krishna, unless he reaches the state of Advaita, like Hanuman did. Hanuman, there is a beautiful verse. Hanuman was a Gyani. He was a Bhakta, no doubt. We all know him as a Bhakta of Rama. The only thing he knew in life was Rama. And he always used to consider himself as a servant of Rama. So that ego was there. That ego, according to Sri Ramakrishna, is not harmless. Because that led him to the highest knowledge. How? Once Hanuman was asked, how do you look upon Rama? So he gave such a nice answer. He says, when I look upon Rama, or when I consider myself as the body, the physical Hanuman, then I am his servant and he is my master. Because I consider my aham or my mama, my body, I still have the idea that I am a body. And as long as I have that idea, I will always be the servant of Rama. But when I consider myself to be the mind, then I am part of the universal mind which is Rama's mind. That is the Ishvara. I am part of that Ishvara. Because as a subtle mind which is subtle is connected, it's interconnected. Bodies are not connected. They can be distinct, they can be discrete. And when you consider yourself as your body, you have to always think, or he says the right attitude when I think of myself as a body is I am the servant of Rama. But as soon as I raise my consciousness to the level of the mind, then I am a part of Rama's mind. So my mind is always on Rama and the universal mind that represents the Ishvara that I worship as the physical Rama. So when you come to the mental plane, I am part of him. But when it comes to the soul, that is the Advaita state. This is just the Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita, that is Ramanuja's philosophy, where you are always a part of Ishvara. God is the ultimate, the universal mind, and your small mind is part of that mind. And Ramanuja maintains that distinction is always there. That is why you go to eternal heaven where you live with your eternal Krishna in Vaikuntha or Shivaloka, wherever you go. That eternal ego, that is your mind, is identifying itself with the universal mind. So you are always a part of that universal mind. You don't want to become one. But Hanuman says the same, when I consider myself as the soul, as the Atma, then I am one with the Paramatma. Then there is no distinction between Rama and me. The distinction comes only when you go down a little bit to the level of the mind, and when you go still below, when you consider yourself, your ego is considering yourself as a body, then I prefer to be a servant of Rama, not a servant of the world. So Sri Ramakrishna says, Aham is not bad, but that Aham, if it is still at the physical level, let it be a devotee of the God, a devotee of the Lord, who has come, who has assumed a particular form. If you go beyond that, which he is mentioning there, a state comes when you consider yourself as the mind. You become so subtle when you are deep in meditation, then for the time being, if you forget that you are the body. That's why we do asana. Asana is just to forget the body. Sthiram Sukham Asanam. When you become so still, you see, when your health is good, when you are completely focused on certain things, you just forget that you have a body. There is a beautiful incident in Swami Vivekananda's life. He was, of course, a born yogi. He could go into meditation now and then. So just before the talk, he had this habit. He would deeply think about the topic. This happened in America. And when he was getting ready, obviously he was asked to dress properly. And when you are considering yourself as the body, you have to take care of it. So he wore that famous coat of his with the turban and all. And then some of the Western disciples who were very gross in their approach, they did not know what spirituality was. So they saw he was now and then going in front of a big mirror and watching. So they thought, after all, see, he is so concerned about his dress. That's the idea we get. We go to the mirror only to see how beautiful we look or whether we have dressed properly. So it's known as a dressing mirror, big one. So again and again he was going. They said, oh, how vain is this Swami? He wants to look good, that is why he is going there again and again. But they didn't understand. Once you see, why do you go? The second time, third time he was going. And when he came back, he could read their mind. Then he turned to his disciples. He said, whenever I think deeply about a topic, especially Maya, this world vanishes for me. Then I forget how I look like. So I forcibly want to see who is this Vivekananda. And I have to convince myself that I am a human being. Because when you are in the depths of meditation, meditation came so natural to him that he could not speak. Because if he goes into samadhi when he is on the stage, like Sri Ramakrishna, many times you will find he is talking, suddenly he stops. Because there is no mind. He has got rid of the idea that he is the body. And his samadhi is so deep, then to whom will he speak? Because all the functions stop, the mind stops. That is what he says. When you transcend the mind, then only you reach the state of samadhi or nirvana or nirvikalpa samadhi, which is in different systems they describe it differently. So Swami Vivekananda had to forcibly, before a talk, go and see and convince that today you have to give a talk and you have to come down to the level of those people. Otherwise, if you get absorbed deeply, meditate deeply on the idea on which you are speaking, you will not able to speak. In Sri Ramakrishna's life also we see. He was a small child. He was asked to play the role of Shiva. So the person who was supposed to play the role of Shiva. They were young children. They were doing a play. So they told the person who was to play the role of Shiva fell sick. So they told Gadai, that is Ramakrishna, to play that role. And he took everything seriously. So in the beginning there was an invocation which pointed to the state of samadhi that Shiva would always be immersed in Kailasha. And since he took everything seriously, when he closed his eyes, he was standing there on the stage. Suddenly it so happened that ideas suddenly took him beyond the mind to the formless world where Shiva always resides, the pure consciousness. And then he could not speak, he could not act, and everybody was disappointed because he had come to do a role of Shiva. So for a normal person, he can live in this world and he can talk, he can do, but he says, when you reach Samadhi, your mind vanishes. So that happened. Of course, that was easy for Sri Ramakrishna and easy for Vivekananda now and then, but it is difficult for us because we are not 100% immersed in the idea of religion or idea of spirit, that we are the spirit, we are the pure consciousness. That idea, if it comes, then we can understand what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. But he is trying in his own way. That's why he says in one place that when I start speaking, I am at a lower plane. That is, I have a body, I see you as bodies, I see you as different minds, people, Brahmos, Vaishnavas. Then I speak. But as I go on speaking, when I go deep into the thought which leads to Samadhi, I transcend the mind, then I can speak no more. He used to explain it figuratively. He says, when I try to explain the mother, till a certain stage I can speak. After that, he says, it is like mother holds my throat and does not allow the words to come out. Because at that stage, when you really experience, you have transcended the mind. So there is no mind, no sense organ which enables you to share that experience. So that's why you will find many times in gospel, you will find Sri Ramakrishna saying, I am really keen to share what I am seeing. He just gave some hints. That is only when he came down to the plane of the mind. Suddenly you try to say something and he says, I feel choked by the mother, as it were, stops the words and the sound from coming out. And then I just lose my consciousness. We have seen this in gospel. Actually, when Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar, who thought it is just a disease of the mind, this samadhi and all, so he wanted to see how can a person, when he goes to samadhi, become inert like a dead man and then come back to life. So being a doctor, he used to, once or twice he even tried. And he found all signs of a dead man, an inert person. There was no breathing, there was no heartbeat for several seconds. And then he says, I can't explain. My science cannot explain this. But because there was evidence, because Sri Ramakrishna used to very often go into that state, but he still said, I come to you because you are a good person. You are a very pure person, you are an unselfish person, you are such an innocent saint that I come to you because I don't accept any of your, because he was very scientific in his approach. He said, I know these things defy biological sciences, medical sciences. He tried to see whether there was life, no pulse. And naturally he comes back when the kirtan is being sung and then he is able to participate. So he saw it in front of his eyes, Mahendralal Sarkar. So he could not deny that such a state is possible. How he went to that state, that is another science. He said, I am not aware of that science, and let me be honest, I am an atheist. I will just tell you what I saw. I have recorded, and he recorded it. He says, till the end I could not explain. Because he was limited by his knowledge of medical science. Medical science has no solution for this. So anyway, that is the idea here in the gospel what we read just now, that different people following different paths and each one holding on to his path. And Sri Ramakrishna believed that if a Brahmo believes but doesn't criticize others, then it is fine. You believe in the formless God because that is true. And that he experimentally verified by going to Totapuri. You believe in what Buddhists believe, that there is Bodhi, there is this ultimate awareness which we have to realize by the different eightfold path that he prescribed, Buddha has prescribed. He said that is also true. They will reach the goal of sadhana according to their path. You don't have a right to say that is wrong or this is wrong, this religion is wrong. Each path, if sincerely followed, leads to the same goal. So that is what whatever we read today, the sum and substance of that, those things were discussed. But Sri Ramakrishna, of course, I made it a bit complicated. He made it very simple. He has that art of making difficult. We try to understand through philosophy, through modern science. He did not need that. Whenever he said this, they say, those who were there, Turiyananji used to say, as Josephine MacLeod said, when I first came to Vivekananda, the first word I heard was true, the second word I heard was true, and all the words he uttered after that appeared to be true. I could not deny them. That was the power of the spoken word of Sri Ramakrishna. We are 150 years away, 200 years away. So somebody reads, it doesn't have the same effect. And when we speak also we don't have. But when Sri Ramakrishna spoke, it had tremendous effect. Even people like Keshav Chandra Sen, Swami Vivekananda, so many great intellectuals came. All these Pandits, they could not say anything because whatever he spoke was not just based on what books he studied or what lectures he heard in a university. It was based on his own experiences that he experienced every moment of his life. Because he gave 100% to whatever he heard, and he would question it until he was satisfied. He would not leave that idea. He will go to the logical conclusion. And when he reached the logical conclusion, that's why you see he appeared to be a bhakta, but he was not a person who was just full of devotion to the Divine Mother. He questioned, he even asked questions whenever he could not understand. So he was actually following the path of jnana. Don't take anything for granted. If it is true, I should experience it. Whatever it takes, then they will say, you have to experience it, but if you have to experience it, you have to follow this. Just as a scientist says, if you want to verify the experiment, you have to go to a laboratory, you have to put chemicals together and then verify it. You can't sit at home and say, now you verify these things for me. So he did everything that the scriptures prescribed, what he heard. He might not have read that, but many Pandits, then he himself practiced what he thought is authentic tradition. Many saints used to come, many bowls used to come, many Pandits, Shashadhar, Tarka, Chudamani, and so many great scholars used to pass by Dakshineshwar just to take some rest, proceed on a pilgrimage to Puri. So he had the chance of meeting all these great people and used to hold conversations with them, listen to them, ask them questions. That is why we find so much wisdom in the gospel. When somebody, as I said, somebody asked, you never read books, how do you quote from Vedas, from this, from Bhagavata and scriptures and others? He said, I might not have read, but how much have I heard? And I never heard anything in vain. Whatever I heard, I took it seriously. Not like the present day students who here first of all, they don't record what is spoken in the class, and out of that they forget whatever they heard. So that's why our knowledge is incomplete. Whereas for him, his concentration was so much. Whatever he heard became part and parcel. He went on thinking. First there was Shravana, then he did Manana, that is again and again asking questions to people who, if they could not answer, then he'll go to the Divine Mother and say, these people say like this, but I don't experience that. They say, Ram Prasad says he had a vision. But why are you cheating me? Will I also not have a vision, or is he telling lies? So he would argue, and then till he had the vision, he would not leave that idea. Whatever poem he heard, he said, if this saint claims that he has seen, then I should also see. That is the scientific way. And Naren, he was very happy when he asked, can you show me God? Because all people say the book says, I don't want to hear what the books, I have read enough of books. Everybody is claiming this. But can you show me God? So he was the only person, or only one in his life, who could say that I not only I had a vision of God, I can show the vision of God to you. And he could give experiences by touch. By his very touch, by his very will, that you cannot deny. These experiences which people have to do sadhana for so many years, upasana for so many years, he could grant that vision. So then there is no way that Narayan or anybody else, however modern he was, even as I said, Mahendranath Gupta, who started Mahendralal Sarkar, who started the Indian Association for Cultivation of Sciences, he was vehemently against all organized religion, including Brahmo Samaj. He used to attend, but then he got disgusted. So he said only science can solve the problems. So he spent his own personal money to start an Indian association in Jadavpur for cultivation of sciences. He said, I'll donate my entire wealth to promote science, because that only will save India. He was such an atheist. But even such a person, Sri Ramakrishna did not criticize. He never told him, why do you preach like this? He said, this is what I believe, but I am honest in whatever I believe, and I will follow it to the logical conclusion. But he said, I can't explain, but I have tested, I have verified that what he called samadhi or bhav samadhi, all the characteristics that the scriptures claim, I could see in the person. As a doctor, I could verify this. This is the only, but how it happens, I don't know. I am not a yogi and don't want to claim that I am a yogi. If there is a yogic science, at least he was honest. So that was an honest scientific inquiry he made. That is why Sri Ramakrishna liked him. He liked people who did not believe. Even Swami Vivekananda, when he was in the West, one of the Western disciples warned him. He said, don't mix too much with this group. After going out, they criticize you. They criticize what you said. Then he said, because they were good people in the sense, they did not subscribe to some of the ideas that Swami Vivekananda spoke, like Vedanta and other things, like Mahendralal Sarkar. So then they were good people. They were good people, people of good character, but they had their own intellectual ideas. So when they went away, this group who was devoted to Vivekananda, they said, Swamiji, why do you mix with them? They don't believe in what you say. Then he said something significant. He said, do they have to believe what I believe to be good? Can people not be good if they don't believe what I believe? They have the right. A person can believe in anything and still be good. So that was the liberal attitude he had, that whatever you do, if you are sincere, that will take you to the ultimate truth, whatever truth you have in your mind. And if there is some error, then it is God Himself who will correct it. God Himself will make conditions so that you go from lower truth to higher truth. So that is how scientifically, if you see, He is Himself asking questions. If we see whatever we read, He anticipates, Sri Ramakrishna is anticipating that people will ask this question. Nobody had asked him why, only one person asked, why is God painted as blue? Why is Krishna blue? Or why is Kali blue, deep blue? Then he gives a wonderful answer. He doesn't shy away from this. When our children ask, we will perhaps not be able to answer. No, it is part of our belief system, so you have to accept it. Krishna is like that. But you see, Sri Ramakrishna gives even the elephant and the lion, which I mentioned, there is significance. Maybe in his younger days he had asked these questions and some scholar would have explained to him. Or maybe he asked the Divine Mother herself and got all the answers. He was not one who would accept because any XYZ scholar would explain something to him. He would not accept take it as hearsay. When he was convinced, and once he was convinced, as I said, those ideas became part of his nervous system. So he would not, it would become part of his personality. So whatever he did, whatever he spoke, that had tremendous power, because it had come from his own intuitive experience, whatever he said. That's why every word of the gospel, it reconciles so many conflicting theories. It clears so many doubts which normally people have in all the rituals, anything in the name of religion. If you see, he has touched upon everything. Though only 4 years was recorded, 4 years conversations, 172 I think conversations, I'm not very sure. Whenever M would go there to Dakshineshwar or to Balram's home, some other places in Calcutta, he has recorded. Even this limited period, whatever he said is such a vast literature, explanation for everything. Not like a professor, but giving wonderful examples where Sri Ramakrishna would explain the most abstruse ideas of philosophy or of religion, so that even a child can understand. So if there are some questions, we can conclude now. Full. Give some time to.
Swamiji, what was the answer for Krishna being blue? Is that the analogy with the sea?
Oh, you came a little late. I explained. The answer he gave, it is here. We read it today. Yeah, ocean. He says, when an ocean, if you look from a distance, that means you don't have a clear idea of what God looks like. Then you see him as blue, not as what he is. But the nearer you go to God, that means the more you do sadhana, the blue color vanishes. It's like taking water in your hand. You see, it is colorless. But why did I see it as blue? Because you are watching it from a distance. So that's why they say things appear to be different when you are far away. When you are nearer to God, then you slowly uncover or discover his true nature. Yes.
I have one question. You explained about samadhi. When he goes to samadhi, then
Body consciousness.
Body disappears. In today's world, we hear about yogis. They can lift their whole body up when they're doing
Lifting is, yes.
I don't know lifting or what it is called because I've not seen it.
Yeah, there are many people who claim. So these are not, you can't say they are miracles. Actually, these things, if you see Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the 3rd chapter is full of samyama. There is a chapter on samyama where any type of concentration can produce some wonderful results. But for that, long practice is required. But Patanjali himself warns, they are of no use. But I am telling, because when you do concentration, these things might come to you. But if you run after that, then you will not gain anything. Sri Ramakrishna explains it in the Gospel. He says there was a yogi who did a lot of Hatha Yoga or some Raj Yoga for 40 years, and he got a power to walk on water. May be possible. You can become, anything is possible in this world, because when the universal mind is so powerful that all the thoughts, they can do many things which is physically thought to be impossible. But anyway, he did it, and he was crossing the river and he was telling everyone, see, I have developed this power of. Then a wise man comes. And he says, you see, you spent 40 years to just cross this water, whereas I just paid 10p and crossed by boat. So your all these powers, 40 years you have wasted, it is equivalent to 10 paise. So that shows that it's not very significant. So if you just, suppose by some yogic practice, you just alleviate. They say, Mahesh Yogi and all, they say, you can go 10 inches above. But what will it change? It won't change your life. You just go up and you come down. Then there is another parable of Sri Ramakrishna where he says one sadhaka developed a power to utter some mantras and throw some powder and kill an elephant. Then he wanted to show there was a big crowd, and then he says, see, I am saying the mantra, I am killing with the force of my mantra, for which he had practiced intense sadhana. So when he did that, the elephant died. Then the owner came and shouted and said, okay, don't worry, I have another mantra. I can make him come back from dead. So he uttered that just to show his powers. Then, as earlier the wise man said, what did you gain? You killed the elephant and you brought him back to life. But what have you gained? So that is the truth. Patanjali himself says, I am just giving all these sutras on samyama, where different powers, different concentrations will yield different powers. Even the geniuses whom you say they are geniuses, they are just because of their power of concentration. They can concentrate better, that's why they come, and you think it is a miracle, but for them it is a question of practice. They can come up with solutions for difficult things in an instant. But it's hard work. It is hard work for several years, and you get the result. But that result, whether it is worth it, what will you gain? Will it give you immortality? Will it give you freedom? Will it remove all your sorrows? You kill an elephant and you bring him back to life. How has it changed your life? The person's life. He is still going to suffer. Has he got rid of suffering? So that's why many of the genuine spiritual saints, though they use miracles, like Christ also used some miracles, sometimes he committed. Sri Ramakrishna also did, but the biography, Swami Vivekananda told Shardananda, don't mention a single miracle, even if it is true, because then people will be run after Ramakrishna for these miracles. If something has happened, there few things have happened, which they said just ignore them. Don't make it part of his biography, because that is not why he came. He came for a much nobler reason. So that is how it is possible, yes.
Is it the same reason such miracles are excluded from?
Yeah, it is excluded. There are many things.
Books,
Some books tried to, Ramchandra Datta's book is there, biography. But Swami Sarvasthananda was very much upset. That is why he wrote the Great Master. He said these devotees are just after miracles, how his son was saved and somebody was saved. Then people will go for, instead of going to a doctor, they will go. Yesterday I was saying, somebody was saying Hanuman Chalisa, and then he went to a Swami and said, I don't bother because my house will never be burgled. He said, why? All your neighborhood, they have broken your lock. Why are you an exception? He said, no, I do Hanuman Chalisa every day, so Hanuman will protect me. Then that Swami got terribly angry. Do you think Hanuman is your watchman? If you want to protect your house, put a nice lock and employ a watchman. Hanuman could not think of anything but Rama. He was such a great devotee. And do you think he will leave Rama and come and your stupid little house he will protect? Don't reduce him to the level of watchman. But we have reduced gods and goddesses to that level. We just want him to cure us, do something for us, and then you forget him or her. Whereas you see the gopis, they never bothered. When Krishna left them, they never came back. They never complained to Uddhava. If you see, they say, how is Krishna? They were keen to find out whether he is happy. They suffered so much because of his absence. He was never seen back. And still they were not angry. They said, how is our Krishna? Is health, is he good? Is he fine? Is he the same Krishna which we saw? Obviously he was not the same, he had grown up. But they had seen the 12-year-old boy. So they were very keen. So that is true love, where you don't expect anything from God. Because they think it's a very cheap thing to ask him to solve your problems. We can solve it ourselves. We can put a nice lock and we don't have to use Hanuman. Then our devotion to Hanuman is not correct. We are in fact expecting him. Of course he doesn't do that. If we read the character of Hanuman, he would not do anything other than worship Rama and serve Rama. So he is not going to serve you. All his life he served only Rama. There was no other person in his life.
Don't mind. বিশ্বাস মিলায় বুঝতে একটা বাংলা কথা আছে না,
Huh?
এই যে হনুমানজিকে বিশ্বাস করছে, ভাবছি হনুমানজি আমাকে রক্ষা করবে, কিন্তু আমি তো
Korbe, kintu that is not the correct attitude.
Yeah.
It will help. It somebody see some miraculously, some neighbor will see and inform the police, and then you will say Hanuman has protected. But it is wrong.
wrong.
It is wrong. Your Vishwas is okay. That is different. You have faith in him. Just as you have faith in XYZ, you have faith in astrology, you have faith in hundreds of things. Our scriptures are full of ideas. There's nothing wrong in that, because people are afraid. They don't like uncertainty. They want certainty. So they go to God for bringing some amount of certainty in their life, because they don't want to be uncertain. I don't want to fall sick. So if worshipping God helps me to be, but ultimately everybody has to die, everybody has to fall sick. Then you start blaming God. Then you say, my God did not protect me when. Why should we blame? Because he is not, he is the one who created, he is the one who will, if we understand, he one who will destroy. So there is this aspect of Brahma who creates, Vishnu who preserves, and Shiva who destroys. It's the nature of Shiva to destroy. So is he an inferior God? No, he is as important as Brahma or Vishnu. That is why we have Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. All have their own functions. So whether he protects or whether he destroys, you see in Mahabharata itself, so many people, Krishna did not protect all. He did not protect Abhimanyu, he died. So will you say he was a friend? In fact, that is the question asked by someone to Kunti. He said, Krishna is a friend of your Pandavas, they are your children, and he is so close to you, but why so much trouble? You had to go to the forest and you were thrown out, you lost the... But her devotion did not change. She in fact said the opposite. She said, that is because of my prayer, at least personally, I have prayed to Krishna that you give troubles to me, because I will pray to you only if there is trouble. If you give me happiness, then I will forget you and run after the happiness. So imagine that kind of prayer. So it is not a question of Vishwas. Her Vishwas was that if there is some trouble always, then I will always remember God, and that will lead to moksha or mukti. So she prayed. This prayer nobody has done. In Mahabharata there is a Kunti who says, you always give me some little trouble and give me the strength to bear it, so that always I will remember you. Who will pray like that? Will we say that? We will say, make us happy. And then when he makes you happy, you forget. Then you forget to remember him, because we don't need God after that. Isn't it? Faith is good, but we should not reduce God to for things which we can do ourselves. We should not say, oh, please give me this, please give me that. We can work hard, earn money and buy it ourselves. Why should we pray to God to give us a better car or something? Vishwas is okay. With that Vishwas, some people have that faith, and then they believe that it is God's grace that they are prosperous, they are better than their neighbors because we pray. That is the normal attitude. See, it is because that's not a reason for praying. I mean, Sri Ramakrishna at least did not encourage. In fact, when the direct disciples, Swami Vivekananda himself said, not for you, but for us you pray that you get rid of the cancer. He said, Mother will definitely listen to your prayer. He said, forget, it's not for yourself, but at least for our sake, you stay for a little longer. So he said, I can't ask for Mother who is pure spirit to ask for something as filthy as this body. This body is going to go anyway. So why should I pray for something, not focus on the pure spirit or consciousness which she is? She can give moksha, then why pray for a few years extra life? Isn't it? So he himself could not never pray. for his own curing him. Yes, shall I conclude?